This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Notorious Five, Part 13. When we left off, Q and his crew had done the groundwork to find out what was up with Little Miss India. And with assignments in tow, each member of the team went off to do what they do best. Late that night, Q decided it was time for him to have another conversation with his sister Anya and her husband Ron. When he showed up, completely unannounced, he asked some questions for the couple. He said, "First, accept my apologies for showing up to your home unannounced. I didn't call first because I'm trying to fly under the radar. Nobody knows that I'm back except for a select few individuals. So, as far as you know, I'm still in the DR." Anya said, "Oh dear God, please tell me that Donovan's okay." Q said, "Oh no, he's fine. That's a whole nother story. We'll talk about that in a minute. For obvious reasons though, I don't know that we should go into details about any topic in your home. There are no guarantees that there aren't any ears listening." Ron said, "I agree, which is why we avoid certain topics when we're at home." Then Q passed Ron and Anya a piece of paper. On that paper was a rundown of everything that he knew to date about Christian's blackmail of Anya and her meeting him at Fair Park. When Ron was done reading it, he handed it to Q. Q took it in the kitchen, set it in the sink, and set it on fire, and watched it burn. When he returned to the living room, Anya was holding an envelope of her own, and she said, "So apparently Donovan left this letter for me. I think you should read it." When Q read it, all of his questions were answered. In the letter, Donovan admitted to tracking and following Anya to Fair Park. He also intimated that if anyone ever came calling, ever came asking any questions about Christian, what happened to him, or his whereabouts, that they should be referred to him. The letter said that there was a second letter that could be obtained from his attorney in the event that he was deceased and his written confession was necessary. All Anya had to do was present that letter to that attorney, and that attorney would know what to do. Q handed the note back to Anya, and then he said, "Well, I guess we all need to be prepared for whatever's going to come next." Meanwhile, over at the estate in the guest house, Regina has procured that product that Dr. Miranda told her and LJ about. Their 3 children are asleep, and the couple is ready to get it in. Regina is dressed in sexy lingerie, and LJ is taking his time peeling her out of it. While he's attending to every part of her, she's thinking in her head, "But please let this mess work, because I do not want another slip and slide episode." They have light music playing just in case they don't want their children to overhear anything that they shouldn't. As LJ goes to make his grand entrance, he realizes that there's a little more resistance than he's had lately. And Regina realizes that she feels everything. As he takes his time sliding in the home base, Regina lets out a guttural moan. It almost feels like the first time, minus the pain. And LJ realizes that he was not nearly prepared enough for the abrupt change in grip. So less than 10 strokes in, he had to back up out of that thing. In unison, he said, "Are you clenching up?" And she said, "Why you stop?" They both chuckled, and LJ said, "I'm gonna need a minute." When they reconvened, LJ had to distract himself with thoughts about baseball, shootouts, the work he needed to get done later on, and his favorite scripture in order to maintain his self-control. And Regina did not help. As a pretty vocal lover, she was completely unrestrained. So LJ had to tune her out. By the time they were done, Regina had had multiple big O's, and LJ had done his absolute best to maintain his composure until his wife was satisfied. The following day, Q showed up at the estate, bright and early. Everyone who lived on the property was present, and Q got them all to agree not to tell Angela that he was back. He had some surprises up his sleeve for his wife. He gave them all the same instructions. "When my wife gets home, don't nobody come knocking. Understand?" A few hours later, Regina and the Queen Mother brought Angela home. She was relieved to see that her children had gone to school, and there wasn't any huge fanfare to welcome her back home. She said, I just want to lay down in my own bed. First, I want to soak in my tub. Which one of y'all gonna be on standby just in case I get stuck again? Regina and the Queen Mother both chuckled, and the Queen Mother said, how about I sit in your room and wait for you? That way, all you gotta do is holler, cause we don't need a repeat of what happened the last time. And make sure that water isn't too hot. I don't need you boiling my grandbabies. Regina looked at the Queen Mother when Angela wasn't looking and said, confused. The Queen Mother said, go ahead and get in, baby, and I'll be right there. When Angela went into her bedroom, Regina and the Queen Mother heard a scream. Angela said, oh my God! Queen Mother looked at Regina, and Regina said, her man is home. She don't need you. The Queen Mother said, what about her lunch? Maribel has her on a strict schedule. Regina said, Q said, he don't want no interruptions. I think he got it. The Queen Mother said, child, she gonna be going back to that hospital. They gonna be having them babies. The two women laughed and went on about their business. Meanwhile, in Q and Angela's suite, the room was decorated with rose petals, and on the bed was the largest bouquet of calla lilies Angela had seen since their wedding. Q cued the music and then guided his wife into the attached bathroom. As usual, he had all her favorites right there waiting for her. Her mineral water, her mangoes, and her strawberries and whipped cream. And he made quick work of getting her out of her clothes. And right before the action got started, Angela said, wait a minute, babe. Maribel said, gentle lovemaking only. Q said, I got you, love. And then he gently turned her every which way but loose in that bathroom. When they were soaking together in the tub, Q said, what's up, love? Angela said, what do you mean? Q said, you've got something on your mind, I can tell. Angela said, well, I wanted to wait and talk to you about this after Donovan came back. Or at least after we had our babies. Q cut off and said, is this some shenanigans that has something to do with Donovan? Angela said, yeah. Q said, did he give you a letter too? Angela said, he did. And I got it while you were in the DR. Q said, I tell you what, unless you killed somebody and you need me to help you cover it up, or this is somehow connected to the plot against my mother, it'll keep. Angela said, plot against your mother? What are you talking about? And no, I haven't killed anybody. Q said, exactly. Then it'll keep. Angela said, no, you need to tell me about this plot against... Q quickly covered her mouth with his, and when he pulled back, he said, that'll keep too. Then before Angela could say another word, Q started feeding her mangoes and strawberries with whipped cream. When Angela was sleeping comfortably in their bed with her pregnancy pillow propped up at a 45-degree angle and snoring gently, Q tiptoed out of their bedroom and went to find Pops Andy. That morning, he agreed to come back to the estate as soon as he finished up at Donovan's company and before he went to go pick up Donovan's children from the Queen Mother. Q and Angela had been sequestered in their bedroom for hours, so Pops Andy should have been back by then. Before Pops Andy left that morning, Q told him that if India did call him at Donovan's office again, to refuse her phone calls, at least until Wise has time enough to put his plan into motion. So when Q found Pops Andy told him that he refused India's call 3 times that day. Pop said, her phone calls are becoming a disruption to the business environment. This is not how I do business, son. That woman Donovan has answering the phones for him is going to start talking, and I don't want to be the water cooler conversation topic. Q said, unblock her on Instagram and find out what she wants. If she wants to meet in person, stall her out. Pops Andy said, I'm trying to make things right with your mother. I don't want to be communicating with this woman. Q said, you, Medea, and I are going to have to work together to solve this. Let's head over to Donovan's and have a conversation with the Queen Mother. Reluctantly, Pops Andy agreed, and to Donovan's house they went. Q sent Angela a text letting her know where he'd be and how long he expected to be gone. Before they left, Pop Sandy called Miss Bernie and asked her to pick the children up from the Queen Mother, and he'd pick them up from her later that evening. She agreed, and when they pulled up, Miss Bernie was pulling off, and Q didn't get out of the car. Pop Sandy said, "What's up, son?" Q said, "There's a mole. I don't know who it is. So until I do, we need to keep the fact that I'm home as close to the vest as possible." Pop said, "You think it's Bernie?" Q said, "I'm not putting anything past anybody. At least not anybody that's not in our immediate inner family circle. Bernie is not in that." She put herself on the outside of it when she flipped on Donovan. Pop said, "But I thought she explained." Q said, "She did, and had her explanation included information that she received directly from Veronica or from a trusted source, I would understand. But she made assumptions, and people who make those kind of assumptions, they make choices, and they make them based on assumptions. For all I know, she could very well have decided that she needed to get back for the death of her niece." Pop said, "But India contacted me months before any of this happened." You said, "Right, and until we know for sure that India is a part of this plot against my mother, everybody is suspect." Pop Sandy asked, "So you got somebody watching Bernie too?" Q said, for sure. Pop Sandy said, "Okay, private investigator." Then they went inside Donovan's house. The Queen Mother said, "Tell me why I'm the last to know that my oldest son is back. And why did I have to find out from Regina that my youngest son decided that he would stay in the Dominican Republic and run around playing enforcer?" Q explained, and the Queen Mother went pale. She said, "So you mean to tell me that there's a hit out for me, and I'm the last person to know that too?" Q said, "Medea, you know me. I've been working since I found out. I didn't have time." Queen Mother said, I know, son. It just seems like people have been keeping a lot of secrets from me lately." Then she and Q both looked at Pop Sandy. Pop Sandy said, "I'm sorry, baby. And I don't care how many times I have to tell you that before you decide to forgive me. I'm sorry, baby. And I'm going to keep telling you that until you understand and believe that I'm sorry, baby." The Queen Mother said, all right. Q chuckled, and he said, "Well, listen, we need to talk." Then he told the Queen Mother everything that he knew about India. And then she said, "And that's the woman you decided to trust with all of our personal business, Anders?" Q said, "Dang, Pops, it's bad. She calling you Anders now?" Pop Sandy looked at Q and said, "This is why I keep y'all children out of my business." The Queen Mother said, "And it's why you should have kept her out of our business too. So she running around telling lies out the wazoo. What's her angle? You ain't figured that out yet, son?" Q said, "I'm working on it. I was hoping that you'd be able to shed some light on who JR might be able to get to work with him to execute a plot that would include Pops' ex." Queen Mother said, "It would have to be somebody who knows who she is, can make that connection to him and or to me." Q asked, "Is there anybody that y'all can think of that you knew Pops before you knew Medea, who you found out was connected to or knew Medea after you met her?" Pop said, "Lots of people, but none of them are her enemies." The Queen Mother said, "It depends on how you define an enemy." Pop Sandy said, "Who you thinking?" The Queen Mother said, "My excommunicated sister, Jira." Q said, "Has she been in New York? Does she live there now or what?" The Queen Mother said, "I wouldn't know. But ask your cousin Selima.